Siona God. Hello all, Osha afternoon. Good afternoon, and Wado. Thank you for watching. This is day 24 of Transformation of America, the true life story of a CIA mind control slave by Kathy O'Brien with Mark Phillips. And we're finishing up chapter 5, fixing to head into chapter 6 of Kathy's story. Yeah, a voice answered. I got a Tinkerbell and a Peter Pan here to see you, sir, the driver called. Send him in, Cox. And I walked into the suite where the governor of Arkansas, Bill Clinton, was shuffling through a briefcase. Clinton and Johnston were cohorts in illegal covert operations that emanated from Tinker Air Force Base. Cox spoke up. Senator Johnston said a little Senator Byrd told him that you are one of ours. So what does that make you? Clinton asked impatiently. A chosen one? Cox nodded his head toward me. Clinton asked me, chosen by whose order? I cryptically delivered the proper coded response, which clued Clinton to proceed. What brings you here? He demanded, interpreting his question literally as is natural for programmed MPD/DID slaves. I answered, I rode the light, sir. Clinton rolled his eyes and looked back over at Cox, who was nervously rocking back and forth as he so often did. State your business, Clinton ordered. Cox cleared his throat, habitually picked his nose as he rocked back and forth and said, well, Clinton looked disgusted. Get him the F out of here, he ordered the driver. Cox was immediately escorted out. That's better, Clinton said. Using standard Jesuit hand signals and cryptic language, he triggered switched me and it accessed a previously programmed message. Senator Johnston sent me to give this to you. I handed Clinton a thin, large brown envelope, and I have some fairy dust guaranteed to make you fly high. I took the personal stash of cocaine that Johnston was sharing with Clinton from my pocket. Clinton snorted 2 lines of the coke immediately. He smiled. Tell Ben I'm impressed. He showed me to the door. The severe torture and mind control programming that I was enduring at Tinker Air Force Base had prepared me for this simple mission and many others. Although Cox's out-of-control occult serial killings polyfragmented my multiple personalities as intended by Byrd, it was Johnston's alien-themed mind conditioning that locked me into absolute robotic helplessness. After all, had I been capable of rationalizing, I would have found that the thought of interdimensional travel and aliens was no more bizarre to me than Cox's murderous actions or having found out pornography king Jerry Ford held the office of president. When my daughter Kelly was born in February of 1980, Cox's former employer, Jack Green, Greene, traveled to Louisiana to meet with me and keep in with his role as Nashville's CIA Freedom Train conductor. He took me aside and explained that since Cox had fulfilled his genetic role in producing Kelly, Senator Byrd had ordered me back to Nashville. Green talked at length, hypnotically reviving my original programmed obsession to move to Nashville. He told me that Cox had proven too insane to follow orders anymore, as well as was evidenced by my extremely poor health. Much of my hair had fallen out, and by the stench of decaying human flesh that permeated the area surrounding his remote Chatham, Louisiana swamp house. If I had had a mind of my own, I know in retrospect I would have felt as though I had been released from a prison dungeon, but I could only respond by telling Cox matter-of-factly that I had received divine guidance to move to Nashville at once, to a home that awaited me. Cox had no choice but to comply with Byrd's orders. Kelly and I moved to Tennessee when she was only 3 months old, and Cox temporarily moved with us in order to apprise our new handler of the latest details of our victimization. Within weeks, Cox moved back to Chatham, Louisiana to live with his mother, even to this date, at the time that this book is come out or whatever. Now he reportedly raises goats for sacrifice and carries on his occult serial killing activities unhindered due to his immunity from prosecution because of whom and what he and his mother know. That's crazy. Like, I don't understand. I don't get that. How can they continue to commit crimes? Anyway, that's a whole other thing. So here are the footnotes. Substantial information regarding the saturation of occultism in the Mormon Church is a published fact, circulated among the bishopric, BISHOPRIC, then released by Bishop Pace, PACE, in an effort to restore morality and freedom of thought to church members. Senator Johnston's dual and triple cryptic language perplexed me at the time. In retrospect, I understand how this component of mind control allowed for undetected proliferation of criminal covert activity, even when overheard by strangers, to the extent that I believed it must be occurring in another dimension, as I was told. This is number 3. Johnston validated his ploy in my mind by arranging for me to see his spaceship, a then top-secret experimental aircraft, which would eventually be known as a stealth fighter. At a military installation near Baton Rouge, the classified triangular stealth was so alien to me at the time that it looked more like a spaceship than a U.S. fighter plane than the U.S. fighter plane it actually is. This, in combination with his inhumane, demeanor, and my previously instilled belief in transdimensional travel convinced me he was E.T. he perpetrated to be. Number 4, I understand this is referred to as a woodpecker grid. Number 5, riding the light scrambled my future experience of being transported by military helicopter or airplane to robotically carry out some program for the government. This transdimensional travel caused my earthly experiences to be perceived as having occurred in another dimension. Number 6, I remained in a post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD trance. Number 7, same Jesuit reference used to describe Pierre Trudeau. Ooh, what's that? Where's number 7 at? I'll have to look and see where that is, because talk about something. I wonder if they still use that today to describe him. I wonder if that'd be like a call sign or something. I'm gonna have to go look at that when I'm done here. Chapter 6, United States military and NASA mind control training. Soon after moving to Tennessee, I learned that Senator Byrd had simply exchanged one living hell for another for me. My new mind control handler, CIA operative, and country music ventriloquist, stage hypnotist, Alex Houston, seemed only to pick up where Cox had left off. As destined, Kelly and I moved into a rundown old trailer of Houston's property, which adjoined Jack Green's farm in Goodlettsville, Goodlettsville, Tennessee. I was subjected to further occult ritual on Green's farm and was ritually impregnated and aborted again, this time by Houston. A difference between Cox and Houston was the superstition factor. Houston knew exactly what he was doing and why he was doing it in accordance with tried and proven scientific U.S. government mind control research and development. I gleaned this knowledge from conversations I overheard between him and those in the know. Alex Houston was 26 years older than I and claimed to have gained his knowledge of stage hypnosis and government mind control methods from the military while entertaining overseas in Bob Hope's USO tours. After the tour, Houston reportedly moved to Washington, D.C., where he and his alter ego dummy, Elemer, Elemer, were regulars on the Jimmy Dean television show in the 60s. According to Houston, he was regularly booked to entertain in officers' clubs at military bases due to his involvement in covert government operations. During the brief interim period that Cox resided on Houston's farm with us, he played music behind government mind control slave Louis Mandrell, Louise Mandrell, Mandrell, and her husband handler R.C. Bannon, Bannon. Cox had previously worked with Louise's sister, Barbara Mandrell, Barbara Mandrell, at the onset of her government-sponsored career in the 1960s, traveling overseas with her in the same USO tours that launched Houston's career by Irby, I-R-B-Y, Mandrell. The Mandrell's father and manager reportedly sexually abused all 3 of his daughters and eagerly thrust them into their mind-controlled existence, much the same way my father had sold me. His daughters, too, were owned by U.S. Senator Robert C. Byrd, B-Y-R-D. Cox was soon fired from his position with Louise due to his insanity. Once, when Houston was traveling with the Mandrells, as he so often did throughout the years, Irby Mandrell relayed the events that prompted his firing of Cox. He told Houston that this is messing with me. He told Houston and I that Cox had become an embarrassment to him while traveling. I knew he was weird, Irby Mandrell said. That's okay, I can live with that. But when he pitched a tent behind the hotel so he could hear the trumpet sound signaling him to march to Missouri, I said, start marching, son, you're done. You're through in Nashville. Don't ever come back. That's it, he was done. Houston reminisced with Mandrell about the USO days and inquired as to how he had tolerated Cox back when he played music behind Barbara. Oh yeah, I remember he, which is Cox in brackets, had somewhat of a brain back then. Irby Mandrell continued, Barbara was just a kid back then with the talent of a full-blown star. I thought she had what it takes to make it in the industry. Then the Byrd came along and introduced us to the latest in technology. Oh God, thank God, I'm almost done. Houston interrupted. Are you talking about music equipment or the kind they've got in Huntsville, Alabama's NASA Mind Control Training Center? Both, Mandrell replied, but it was Huntsville that launched her to the stars. The doors opened wide after that. Byrd took a lot of pride in Barbara, and the doors just kept opening. With my baby's talent and the Byrd's influence on her mind and career, there was no way we could lose. All right, then to go ahead and get you in a good job. Till we meet again. Love you, mean it.